while they over there running their mouth, I'm over here paying them no mind. See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fani in a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because like silly schoolboys, the name reminds them of a woman's rear.
So that's one way. That's one example, what you just saw, that clip from our girl, Cash Money G. That is one way a DA, a district attorney, a prosecutor can act. But yet, there is another way. And I'm going to show you this amazing clip. And also, if you haven't heard, about the Baldwin case being completely dismissed and thrown out, this is going to illuminate a lot on that too. Plus, stick around because I have this whole entire video is really inspired by the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the Pitbull, Trump's lead defense attorney in the Georgia 2020 election interference case, Steve Sadow. I'm going to share with you his response and what he says about Prosecutor Orlando Ocampo Johnson, who resigned from the case in the Baldwin trial after the whole debacle. I did an entire live stream about that. Wait till you hear what Steve Sadow says about the connection between this prosecutor and the prosecutors that we see in Fulton County. Because it's not just Cash Money Fani G. It's also the entire district attorney's office, the abomination of the Fulton County justice system. And the tragedy of it all is the poor, hardworking citizens of Fulton County suffering endlessly. But check out this clip in contrast to what we just saw, and then we'll talk about it. This is amazing.
First, let me give you a chance to respond what was said about you. Another member of the team said you left the team because you didn't like that this Brady hearing was public.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I left because I learned about this evidence when the public learned about it yesterday, late afternoon. I don't know if you're aware, I actually came on this case kind of late in the game. I came on the case towards the end of April, so I had to get up to speed. I was not involved in the Hannah Gutierrez case at all. And so I was not aware that this individual had taken this ammunition to the sheriff's department and provided it to the officers. I learned all of that yesterday when Mr. Spiro was cross-examining the crime scene technician. So I inquired some more. And this morning, when the motion hearing began, my position was during the lunch hour, before the lunch hour, during the lunch hour, we have an obligation as prosecutors. We have an obligation not only to the people, but to the defendant. Mm-hmm. And our obligation is to make sure that all the evidence is turned over. We don't get to decide what the defense is going to be. Ooh. Our job is to ensure transparency and to ensure that the defendant has everything that the prosecution has gathered.
Amen to that.
What they do with it, that's up to them. I did based on the evidence that was available. But my job is not to get a conviction. It's to put the evidence before a jury. That's how I saw my job. So once I learned that this evidence was not turned over, that it was there, it was under a different case number, and my obligations, my ethical obligations as a prosecutor. Now, keep in mind, I've been a prosecutor. I was a state and federal prosecutor for over a decade. I've been a prosecutor. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for the last 16 years. So I've been on both sides. And I know what you're required to do. And when this came to light, I think that the best decision would have been for the state to dismiss the case. That's why I resigned.
Really?
Because I believed that that case should have been dismissed. And I advocated for that over the lunch hour. And it wasn't. And so when we came back after the lunch hour, I asked to withdraw.
Wow.
Obviously, you're a lawyer, I think. Brady versus Maryland imposes requirements on the prosecution to turn over evidence. The rules of criminal procedure impose those requirements, those duties as well. So is the evidence material? That's number one. How timely is the disclosure? Without question, this was grossly untimely.
Wait a minute. So Cuomo was an attorney? I have to pause this for a second. First of all, I'm really not a fan of Cuomo at all. I think he's just as corrupt and just as vile as his brother. And he's basically hasn't apologized for all the crap that he threw on Americans, over so much stuff that happened during the pandemic and more. And I just think he's a total fraud. But I didn't know he was an attorney. And he didn't disagree. But he didn't also agree. And he's a LAD lion-ass dog. So God knows. Let me know in the comments if you know.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is immaterial. So the question is, could the defense have made some use of this evidence in their defense? Mm-hmm. And like I said, we as prosecutors do not get to make that decision what the defense is going to be. It's, can the defense use this, and could it potentially raise some sort of reasonable doubt? And you have to step back. You're not an advocate. As a prosecutor, you're not an advocate. You are there to present the facts and to present the evidence. And your job is, and that's why I took this case on. I agreed to come on board, is because there was a woman who was killed. No question about it. Mm-hmm. This was tragic. And something happened. And a jury needed to make that decision. And so I believe in the system. And unfortunately, something went horribly wrong here. And Hallelujah. I was not aware of it. Hallelujah. And when I did become aware of it, my ethical obligations dictated that I advocate for a dismissal. The first time I look at this evidence was this morning, because it was brought over to court. I think, as you saw, the judge had them open the envelope. And so there were 3 rounds that looked very similar to the live rounds that were found on the set of Rust. If thinking as a defense attorney, I'm thinking the defense could have argued Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was a great armorer. She was completely competent, and there was sabotage. So you have that potential sabotage angle. So then at that point, potentially those 3 rounds do become potentially exculpatory. But the point is, it should have been turned over. It wasn't turned over. And
you think it met the standard? Any way you look at it, it should have been turned over. It was enough for you to step away.
Well, no, I walked away before the judge made the ruling. I asked you.
I know. Should you have waited?
No, absolutely not. I have ethical obligations. And personally, I have moral obligations. And my ethical obligation and my moral obligations really are not that different. And so when I see that something isn't right, and when I see that the law isn't followed, I don't care who you are, where you are. Mm-hmm. You make the right decision. And for me, the right decision was to walk up to the judge and ask to be allowed to withdraw before that circus of a hearing got underway.
It is so remarkably refreshing. And I completely agree, even though I'm not maybe the biggest fan of Cuomo, that kind of authenticity, that kind of ethics, that kind of honor, moral code, that ironclad dedication and belief and faith in the system and upholding every facet without even coming even near the line. We all know what the line is, because Cash Money G has crossed it 1 billion times. Judge Glanville crossed it. Prosecutor Love, Jack Smith, Letitia Big Shame James, Alvin Bragg. This is, Prosecutor Johnson is, to me, an exemplary prosecutor, and she completely embodies and completely engenders what we hope for in the justice system, the ideal of the justice system, the ideal of what the Pitbull Sadow called the highest standard, that prosecutors are not there to be advocates, quote, she said, that it's not about, winning. It's not about how it looks or what the cosmetic or peripheral or ancillary noise may try to put pressure or coerce. It's about the truth. It's about objectivity. It's about facts. It's about evidence. And she knew that this was wrong. And she walked right up to the judge and said, I'm out of here. That is the highest standard. Prosecutor Johnson, if you happen to be watching, I am absolutely applaud you. I give you massive kudos. Thank you so much for being a stalwart of justice, a stalwart of ethos, credibility, and showing America that the system can work and should work when it's fair and just, and you've got no bad persons trying to take advantage. I'm not the only one who thought that Prosecutor Johnson was a highly, highly formidable representative of the high standard that prosecutors should be held at. Listen to what the Pitbull said. Check this out. So here you can see right above my head is the Pitbull Steve Sadow posting this on X/Twitter. Everybody follow me on Twitter, by the way. I'm at Professor Nez. And he says, quote, Fulton County prosecutors need to listen. I love this. This is like trolling. This is like, not only is he the GOAT in the criminal system, but he is turning into what a massively talented troller. This is such great trolling right here. This is like a black belt in trolling. Fulton County prosecutors need to listen to Mrs. Johnson's interview. Her understanding and embracing of a prosecutor's ethical responsibilities is inspirational. Enough said. But I want to throw this off to you guys. What do you guys think of that sort of connection and the sort of the dichotomy, if you will, of on one side you've got Cash Money G, who we've talked a lot about, and a ton of other prosecutors and officers of the court in Fulton County. We saw that one judge I did a video on who struck a police officer and then in her entitled fashion refused to give her name, and et cetera, versus Prosecutor Johnson. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments down below. I really am looking forward to hearing what you say and what you think of Sadow's comment on the whole thing and how he connects the tissue. As always, if you made it this far, don't forget, in the pinned comment, show notes, and description is our free newsletter so you never miss out. Go subscribe, become a Nez Nation Insider right now. It is absolutely free, and it's your sure-proof way of never missing out on all the latest breaking that mainstream media, woke media won't cover conveniently right to your inbox. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right now. Follow and subscribe. Click that. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless America. I'll see you soon.